It is officially time to start. So welcome everyone, welcome to El Nido on the beautiful island of Palawan. It is 6:30 a.m. So it's very much an early stroll. And for the ones that don't know me, I'm Natalie, and let's go. So as promised, I'll show you the only cemetery I did not dare to enter. And you know what? I'm still not going to enter it now because I can hear the guilty party. So this is the El Nido public cemetery. It's interesting that those graves. That's interesting. And a lot of photos as well. Now let me show you why. To check the route, I was alone because my friend had a bit of how can I say that politically correct? Stomach issues. It happens to many people here. Although I think a lot of people, they're convinced that they get food poisoning when they actually get heat stroke. You know, when you have too much cemeteries here, they look almost like a village because they've got those little roofs. I've seen some in beautiful cemeteries, like just down from the cliffs and stuff like that. The food poisoning, well, I said, Laurie, a lot of people here often believe they get food poisoning. They often blame the water or this and that. But when you get heat stroke, you know, a lot of people here, they do those excursions on a boat and they are all day in the sun. They're trying to get the best tan ever before they go back to wherever they're from. And when you have too much sun, when you have a heat stroke, one of the symptoms is actually vomiting. So I think sometimes people blame the food and stuff, but they are the one that expose themselves too much to the sun. Anyway, because and I was like, oh, puppies, because oh yeah, actually I'm getting a notification now. That's interesting. All right, I think we should be back. Yeah, exactly. A lot of people drink a lot the night before as well, so it's easy to blame the water. And it's actually quite bad because here those boats, those excursions, they don't give you water anymore because some tourists claim that they got food poisoning from the water. So now you have to buy your own water, when I'm convinced for some of them it's not exactly food poisoning. Anyway, I think the signal is back up now. So I was saying, last night when I tried to walk my route, I was on my own and I decided to enter the cemetery. And that's what happened. Let me show you the video. Where are they? Here. So I was like, oh yeah, cute puppies. There was 5 of them. They did not want to let me in. So yeah, 5 of them, they were protecting their dead. I'm actually very scared of barking dogs. If they're barking at me, usually I try to climb up a tree because dogs don't go up trees. I love them when they're quiet, but I'm actually very scared of them when they bark. And those 5 did not want to let me in, so I had to give up. And that would be a bad way to die. Imagine if I disappear, then they'll find my body destroyed in a cemetery by wild dogs. So I had to turn around. And you find again those those posters. So yeah, the dogs are protecting their deads. Oops. When I played the video, did you have the sound on? Because it's actually one of the few times I play videos in a live, and I was wondering if the sound was on. Did you hear the dogs barking? I did wonder the same lethargy. I wonder if they were protecting their owners, but I doubt it because there's a lot of stray dogs here. So they're probably just sleeping here. Yeah, loud. Okay, good, good. So that's good to know. So in the future, if I want to do a video with no sound, I need to take the sound off. Right, let's walk towards the village. So about cemeteries, about the Philippines, really today, as you can probably see, it's very much Catholic. The majority of the population here, at least in Palawan, is Catholic. So you can see a lot of those crosses and everything. But over the centuries before the Spanish, and still today in some part of the Philippines, they have had some interesting mourning rituals, mainly in northern Luzon, so we're talking north of Manila. There are some areas there that are in the mountain and in the rice terraces where the Spanish didn't go down that well. And some of the tribes in there have kept their rituals for a long time. Some of the most interesting ones, it's actually hanging coffins up cliffs. Some are still visible today. It's quite interesting. So you see the cliffs, and you see those coffin hanging, literally hanging. It's in Sagada. I've not been, but I'll show you a photo. That's what it looks like. Oh, let me make it a bit bigger for you. Oops, hold on. My photo has just gone right into the chat. There we go. Move here, bigger, yeah. Cool, so that's what it looks like. So that's quite interesting. And apparently at the time they somehow believed that the higher their loved ones was going to be buried. Well, it's not buried, but the higher the coffin, the better chances of the afterlife. So yeah, that's crazy. So this is still visible today. It's a dark tourism attraction. In northern Luzon, they also have found some bodies buried up trees in a different area, but not really buried as such. So what they used to do is they would carve some kind of a space in Lorry. Yes, that was basically a cemetery up cliffs, and so yeah, they would carve a spot inside a tree, like a vertical grave. The bodies would be standing, and they'll place their loved ones inside a tree. So that's how on earth do they do that? Yes, Pam, that's amazing. I mean, the risk, because it's very risky locations, the hanging coffins. But for them, the better. This way, there was no chance of them being removed. And they still eventually do fall down, you know, when everything deteriorates. But that's part of the process. No, Laurie, Luzon. It's when they say it, it sounds like Lausanne, but it's spelled Luzon, Luzon, Luzon. Yeah, but when they say it, it sounds exactly the same as Lausanne. Yes, and the village straight there, that's El Nido. That's where we're heading to. So yeah, you had those bodies up the cliffs, those bodies up the trees. Again, in northern Luzon, you had some smoking cadavers. They would sit the body and they'll put a cigarette in between their lips, and every so often they'll light it up. And for a few days before actual burial. Hi, Trish. And here in Palawan, what we found evidence of, it's jar burial. So they would first have a normal burial and then later on collect the bones to put them in a jar. Let me show you. The most famous one that we found is about 800 years before Christ. So it looks like this. Make it a bit bigger. So it looks like this. So that would have been with the bones of their loved ones. This one is called the Magna Gold jar. So this is what they did here in Palawan. So not as impressive as what they did in northern Luzon. And let me close it. Hold on. There we go. So this is El Nido. Yes, exactly, Tariq. So El Nido, I'm sure some of you have heard of El Nido. It has become the most visited location in the Philippines. And that is all thanks to Instagram. It is a beautiful location, but a lot of locations in the Philippines are literally like a little paradise. But the popularity of El Nido can be linked straight back to social media. It is a heaven for Instagrammers or this type of influencers. They are not so much here in El Nido village, but in the excursions. So El Nido, it's a municipality. They've got 45 islands, and some of them are absolutely amazing. We're talking picture perfect, with a blue lagoon and hidden beaches and big cliffs, and it is stunning. But there's always a bit of a difference between Instagram and reality. Yes, those places are beautiful, like extremely photogenic, yes, but you have hundreds of people visiting them. So you see the beautiful shots on Instagram, but really you probably have to queue to take the photo. If I came back here in 2 hours, this beach here is like the port. All those little boats are gonna be going for excursions all day. They have 4 circuits, 4 tours, A, B, C, and D, taking you to the best spot. And this beach is gonna be full, packed with thousands of people, and I'm not exaggerating. We're talking thousands. So those tours are quite good, but really, if you wanted a chance to be almost alone in the big lagoons or the hidden beaches, or you want to book a private tour, that's what we did. So we did 2. The first one, we met a few people in Port Barton, so we managed to gather a group. This is actually a road, see? That's the road to the cemetery. And so that was pretty much the same price, but that allows you to leave a bit earlier. So we left at 7 instead of 9, so we had a couple of locations that were not that packed, busy, because when you do the main tours, it can get very busy. We did a public one yesterday it wasn't too bad, to be honest, but that's because it was Tour B, it's not the most popular. You prefer remote beaches? Yeah, well, I'm the same, Linda. To be honest, it's beautiful here, but it is very expensive. Some of those bars and pubs are almost European price, and it's becoming completely unaffordable for the Filipinos that are from here, I think it's called the Tree House. That's quite cool. So yeah, those bars and restaurants, it's so much more expensive than the other locations I've visited in the Philippines. It's mad. And I think it's only the beginning, because obviously Instagram is not going away. It's still bearable today, but honestly I don't know if it'll still be okay in a few years, because it's very, very busy. And right now it's 7 a.m, so it's very quiet. Most people are hungover in bed, because there's a lot of young people here that come to party. Some of the nightclubs, by the way, you can smoke inside. So here you're not allowed to smoke on public spaces. Like, I wouldn't be able to lit up a cigarette well, I could, but if I lit up a cigarette right now on the beach, I could get a penalty fare. Here it's 1,000 pesos, so that's about 12 pounds. Apparently, I have been told, I don't know how they would actually implement it, but plus 3 days of community services. I don't know how it's possible, because I have a ferry in 2 hours. Would they make me stay here on those 3 days? I don't know. But in the clubs, you can smoke. So it's just mad, because then you dancing with people smoking in your face. And it's all over the Philippines, by the way, that you shouldn't smoke in public places. My friend actually had a penalty in Jagna. And of course, she rebelled, and we ran away. We ran into the terminal, but they're from the municipality, so they have the right to go into the ferry terminal. Eventually, she paid, and all of that for £1.40. There was no need to run away. But anyway, so you want to be careful where you smoke, if you do smoke. More Europeans or Americans visiting. Linda, I would say more Europeans. Here, it's a lot of Italians, French, and Spanish. Here in El Nido. But also, maybe I do visit the spots that the French and the Italians do. It is possible that the Americans go to different spots. Yesterday on our tour, we had 3 girls from Canada, Quebec, but I've not met many Americans apart from that. It's, there's a few Aussies as well. Well, and there's a few foreigners that also have a business here. There are a lot of French actually having businesses here. So you can basically run a business, but you cannot buy the land if you are not Filipino or married to one. But here you can still buy a plot of land for £4,000. So that would be crazy if foreign people could just buy it. But so you can manage a business, but you'd have to rent it. So let's say if you want to rent a piece of land here and you want to build a hotel, you can. But then, I don't know, if you're renting for 10 years or whatever, when you give it back, you give them back the hotel as well. Which is probably fine, because construction is not very expensive here, because the minimum wage is very, very low. So yeah, all those boats would be... Was the island French owned at some point? No, Laurie. So the Philippines have been Spanish for 3.5 centuries. Then it was the Americans. So what happened, I'm not going to go into too much details because I'm probably not very comfortable with that part of history, but so basically that's the time of the Cuban Independence War, and the Americans were actually defending Cuba. And there was an American ship that was sank in Cuba. The Americans accused the Spanish. That probably was not the case. And that was then the excuse. So the Americans decided to take over the Philippines from the Spanish. To be honest, there were already a lot of revolutionary movement here. So the Spanish probably would have had to let it go at some point. So after the, I think it's 1898. So after that, it was the Americans. They had to let it go. Well, they didn't have to, but they let it go after World War II. But the military presence from the US was here for a long time, until the 90s. Those people are gonna go diving. And you can really see the American influence still today. They play basketball everywhere. I actually saw some young people 2 days ago playing baseball. And of course, everyone speaks English. Well, not everyone. And some of their English is made up. So, for example, before to do this tour, I actually looked at crimes. I wanted to know if there was any nice crime story here. I didn't find any crimes that were very interesting, to be honest. But I was looking at the Palawan news, and I found a lot of cases of frustrated murders. And the first one I read, I was like, what is a frustrated murder? That must be a typo. You know, they probably meant attempted murder. So, and then I read further along, and again, frustrated murder, and then another article, frustrated murder. And I looked it up, it's actually a Filipino term for attempted murder. I don't know where they get it from, because all the murders are very frustrating to me, but I didn't know what a frustrated murder was before to read the news here. So some, yes, baseball, yes. You see much more basketball. You see a basketball net pretty much everywhere here. So yeah, you can see that the Americans were here for a while. Those are a lot of nightclubs here. I've been quickly to this one, Amigos. That's the one where everyone was smoking. To be honest, it's well open, so there's a lot of air and wind. Still, I've not seen people smoking in clubs for ages. Now we're gonna, I'll try to cut in the little street behind Amigos to go back into the town. If I lose you for a second or two, it's because it's a tiny skinny street and the signal should come back. Hello. Hello. Come back straight away. I'm gonna try not to say anything very interesting in here so you don't miss any information. It has to be frustrated to murder. Well, I suppose, you know, when you don't manage, you try to kill someone and they don't die. It is technically frustrated, as you know, the murder is frustrated. It makes sense, but it just doesn't come from anywhere. Oh, I think the signal stayed, so very good. All right, so this is the main street. Let's say the party street, all the way here, straight down to the port. But you can buy a lot of coffees here with milk, actual milk, which is really hard to find in the Philippines. But you'd pay like £2. It's almost European price, you know, and a lot of cocktails as well with imported alcohol that can be very expensive when the rum here costs nothing. Yes, Tarek, that's what I found out as well. But it's not a term that, as far as I know, it's not a term that we really use anywhere else. It's a Filipino saying, yeah. Because in the UK we would say attempted murder. Anyway, I did not even tell you why El Nido is called El Nido. So if you know a little bit of Spanish, you might know Nido, it's a nest. So the town is basically called the Nest. And well, it could look, you know, when you look at the town, you could think, oh, it's because it's nested between the rocks. But no, it's actually because of the bird nest that you can find into the caves. Because you know that there are some little bird nests that are actually edible. They are little white bird nests from the swiftlets. It's full of protein and it's apparently very nice, very tasty. And let me show you what swiftlets nest look like. So it's those white little nests that you'll find. It's basically into the limestone caves around here on the cliffs. And let me catch up with the chat. How did I find these places? Well, Barbara, to be honest, El Nido, I think it's on everyone's list to visit in the Philippines. If you read any blog, they would always recommend El Nido. Yeah, basically just the internet. So that's the nest, and this is very, very expensive. It sells for about, well, up to $10,000 a pound, depending on the quality of the nest. You can find some dry one to eat, mainly in in Southeast Asia. It's a delicacy. I'm gonna wait because it's very noisy here. Oh yes, Tarek, yeah, the Filipino language has a lot of Spanish in Tagalog. There's a lot of terms that are still there, yeah. So yeah, those little nests, they were a lot to be found around here. Well, not a lot, it's still very rare. At the time they were a bit more birds, so they were not that rare. And the Chinese used to come here to collect those nests. So that's why it became known as El Nido, the nest, because of those little edible nests that are still today a very expensive delicacy. They do a soup with it that is quite pricey, let's say. Just gonna cross. So this is the town hall, the building, and we're gonna go and see if we can get into the church. Let's see. Yesterday morning I managed to go about this time, so let's go and take a look. So El Nido is much bigger than, for example, Port Barton. When we were the other day, you can see some 4-story building, and so yeah, it's more like a city feeling than the other location I've shown you so far. So the very Instagrammable part is not really El Nido town, but it's all the islands surrounding it. There are a couple of very nice beaches around El Nido as well. One of them is called Cabañas. That's where people go and watch the sunset. But I'll show you. I'll do a video. I'll show you the sunset. It is mad. It's just a massive photo shoot, really. But when you go to those beautiful spots, you turn around, it's basically a photo shoot everywhere. You see a lot of drones, you see a lot of selfies. And the tour guides, they very much understand that the more photo you take, the more the town is getting known. For example, in Port Barton, oh, actually, I think I have a photo. Let me show you. Yes, there we go. So that's, I'm gonna have to move the shot, hold on. Up. So when we did an excursion in Port Barton, the tour guide spent at least an hour doing this little thing with a watermelon, but because he knows that this is gonna be posted on social media at least 10 times. So they want those shots to go all over the globe, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, you name it, to make their location famous. They fully understood the impact of social media, and all of the tour guides here, they're gonna offer to take you photo all the time, because they know the more photos, the more beautiful photos you post online, the more people are gonna be coming. So that's quite interesting. Anyway, let me catch up with the chat before we go into the church. There seems to be a service, so I'm gonna try to show you from the back, but I'm not gonna get in, okay? Just want you to have a little glimpse of Saint Francis of Assisi. Yes, Lynn, this is the dry season, so there's a lot of tourism now. If you come in the summer, it could be a little bit more wet. Cool. Let's move a bit further, and it's gonna be the end of the tour. Let me show you my face again. Cool. Let me know if you have any questions before we go. Just gonna turn around because we don't really want to have children in the frame. Cool. So I might have time to do a last, because I'm going back to the UK soon. I might have time to do a last tour in Coron. We'll see. I've got one more location, a few more days, and then I'm heading back home. I think to have lost the chat. Let me remove it. Oh, perfect. Now it's back. Cool. Thanks, Rose. Thanks, Tish. Thanks, Barbara. So let me know if you have any questions before we go. If not, thank you very much for coming today. If any of you were completely new to me, hope I got you hooked and hope you'll subscribe. And if any of you dropped me a little tip on PayPal or buy me a coffee or even straight into YouTube, thank you very much in advance. It's always great to have some support. Thank you, Martin. Thank you, Ronnie. Cool. I'll be home on the 16th. If everything goes to plan, and I have to work on the 17th anyway, because they've basically changed my flight to Manila to end up in a different airport. So it's gonna be a bit of a trek to get back to Manila airport to be able to fly to China. So yeah, it's a bit stressful, but we'll manage, hopefully. Cool. Thank you, Pauline. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day, a good morning, a good evening, whatever time it is for you. And I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.